Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 99 of our Get Your Goals annual challenge. Today's we're talking about, as we're continuing our journey into exploring our spiritual goals in this year's Get Your Goals annual challenge. This month we're focusing on our spiritual well-being, our spiritual health. And so today we're going to talk about intuition and our spiritual goals. What the heck do they have to do with each other? Well, intuition comes in two types. It's sometimes called our sixth sense. You know, we have sight, sound, hearing, taste, touch. And then there's this other sense, this other sense, I guess it's a sense, right? That we all have to a greater or lesser extent that operates pretty much in the background or in the underground of our unconscious mind. And it exists because our brain, our mind, has the ability on a subconscious level to process information really, really quickly. It can take all kinds of information from the past, present, and current situation and what might happen in the future because it likes to play out future outcomes and give us nudges or hunches or gut feelings or instincts or just a sense of something being off or for us. And it helps to guide us because scientifically they've proven that we all have that ability. Our brain has the ability to process information super duper quickly on an unconscious level, and that will give us answers in different ways or forms for each of us that are actually leading us in the direction that is best for us, that we subconsciously at least want to go. So although it's rooted in science, I think there's a lot of woo-woo and foo-foo stuff around spirituality and intuition and sixth sense and whatever you want to call it. There's two types of intuition. There's experiential intuition. That's things that we've actually experienced in the past and are experiencing in the present that will cause us to have our brain create signals to us that tell us whether something is for or against us. It's like when you get that eerie feeling when you're driving down a certain street that you shouldn't go down that street, and then you find out that there was a big car crash there or something. But there's ways to integrate our intuition into our spiritual goals, to use it to help us achieve our spiritual goals and objectives. I'm going to share 5 of those today, and you can think about them. There's actually more than 5 because there's 5 categories of things and tips that we can do to increase our intuition or just to use our intuition to help us achieve our spiritual goals. Now, guess what? We can use our intuition to help us achieve any of our goals and objectives in any area of our life. It just doesn't apply to spiritual, but these are geared specifically toward our spiritual goals and objectives. Our action item today is going to be to share an instance or an experience wherein your intuition, you actually knew that you had an intuitive hunch about something, and whether you applied it or not to achieving something that you wanted. So then we're going to think about our intuition today and say, okay, if I could be more intuitive, tap more into the feelings of what's right for me or not right for me, would that help me to achieve my spiritual goals? So our action item is just to think about today as you're going about your day. Do you feel like you have a good sense of intuition and that it's like your sight? So my intuition is definitely better than my sight these days, but compared to your other senses, we all tend to favor one sense or the other, but we all have the ability to improve or enhance any one of our 6 senses. Although I know sometimes people will just say there's only 5. Okay, so what are some tips to integrate and use intuition to help us achieve our spiritual goals? Number 1, you have to trust your intuition. I have so many stories about when I did listen to my intuition and it worked out well. And then I also have stories about when I didn't listen to my intuition and it turned out really, really badly because I was following my head and the numbers and the information on paper and everything looked good. But it turns out that my instinct and my gut was saying, yeah, it looks all awesome on paper, but and it seems like the right decision, but there's something just telling me to dig deeper, look further, or to say no, not right now. And every time I've ignored that intuition, that gut, that sixth sense, I've made some really, really bad decisions based on ignoring that. So number 1, trust your intuition, even if it goes against what you're thinking and what your logical brain or even what societal norms tell you is the right thing to do. or, we all live in this world of shoulds. I should do this, I should do that. But just because we think we should do it, is it really the right thing for us to do? Not necessarily. Number 2, cultivate mindfulness. How many times have we talked about mindfulness so far this year? I guarantee we're going to talk about it a whole lot more, because it is such a powerful way to, number 1, get to know ourselves better, which is what, not intuition, which is what spiritual goals are all about, right? Getting to know ourselves better so we understand our connection to things outside of us, the bigger world, the bigger meaning of life, our purpose, etc. So we want to cultivate mindfulness. We've talked about lots of ways to do this, but it helps us to become more aware of, number 1, our core values, what's important to us, our thoughts, our beliefs, our way of looking at the world. And once we're aware of those and we're mindful of those, we can decide, well, does that belief, does that thought, does that choice that I made in the past, or that decision I made once, 20 years ago, does that still apply today? Does the way I see myself, is that how I really am in the world right now? Or is that just how I was, 5 years ago when I had a bad experience or a good experience? Number 3, practice self-reflection, meaning think about your life. Think about your experiences. Think about the things that you think and feel and believe and do, and the actions that you take, and pay attention to the results that they get you. Are they moving you toward what you want with respect to your spiritual goals, or away from what you want? Seek inspiration from other people, places, resources, things that make you feel good and help you know you're going in the right direction for you. And finally, we have to take action. So many times we think that if we just think and believe and envision and say affirmations and be mindful and get hypnosis and all these crazy things, that everything we want will just fall into our lap. And those things are important, but the reason they're important is they tell us, sometimes through our intuition, what actions to take. I like to call it, and I didn't make this up, inspired action. When we get inspired action, an action that just pops up and we feel so good about it and we just know it's the right thing to do, we need to do that thing and act on that thing immediately, because those are the things that help us make huge strides toward what it is that we want, because they come to us from, I don't know if they come from the divine, but they come from the universe somewhere to help us speed the process of getting what we want in any area or aspect of our life. So sometimes that will take the form of daily action, like affirmations, meditation, hypnosis, mindfulness activities, journaling, things like that. Other times it will take be a bigger thing that you do. Maybe you'll volunteer. My mom volunteers for so many things now. It's amazing. And it is what I say is keeping her going. She's 86 years old, and she's a lot more active than I am, especially in her community and things. And it has a huge positive impact on her, because it matches, her taking action matches with how she wants to show up in the world. Or it might involve, maybe you travel, maybe you do bigger things, maybe you further your education, maybe you go to retreats or events that further your spirituality. Maybe you join a religious organization, whatever works for you. So again, intuition, we're tapping into and paying attention to our intuition today, our gut instinct, our intuition, our hunches, the small little voice in our head, just the positive one we're going to listen to these days, and how that can help us achieve our spiritual goals and objectives. Share in the comments below any insights you have on this today. I will do the same. If I can help you in any way, ask. Otherwise, have an absolutely fabulous day, and I'll be with you tomorrow. Bye for day 100.